Hey guys, so I don't know if I've been under a rock and had never heard of this before, but I just stumbled across DTF transfers, direct to film transfers, and I'm trying it for the first time, so I thought I'd share it here because I think it's a really efficient, cost-effective way to create something custom and unique. When I was thinking about creating some shirts as gifts, I thought of the different ways I could do that. I've had videos on screen printing, and then of course there's heat transfer vinyl from something like Cricut, but I wanted something a little bit more colorful with a little bit more depth because it's for little kids, so I just wanted to be a little bit more exciting. So I was thinking, how could I do this? I thought about sublimation, and I've been considering dabbling into sublimation for a while, but there are some drawbacks. Of course, it costs quite a bit to get started because you need the printer, which is quite expensive, and the inks, and then I'm sure there's a learning curve, and then you have to pay for the blanks, and the blanks aren't really cheap. They're not inexpensive for what they are. And that's the bigger reason why I'm not a huge fan, is not the price of the blanks, but the limitations with the blanks. So if I wanted to create a shirt, you have to use like 100% polyester material, and I really don't like clothing made out of 100% polyester. For creating a shirt, I was trying to think of other ways I could do it. And then I got an ad, I think on Instagram, for this DTF transfer, and I wasn't really sure what that was because I was like, okay, how is this different than sublimation printing? So I had to do a little bit of research on it, and I'll just give you a quick rundown. So from what I learned, I could be wrong, but I think this is correct. Sublimation printing is where the color or the dye, it goes into, like if you're doing it for a shirt, for example, it's going to be different for ceramic and hard materials, but for a shirt, it's actually going to get absorbed into the material. So if you're using an all over print, it's going to be better. Or if you're doing something that is a stretchy material, it's going to stretch and not basically crack. But the downside of it being sublimated into the fabric is that if you have a darker fabric, it's not going to sit like on the layer of the fabric, it's gonna go into the fibers. So it will be harder to see because it's going into the fabric. So a darker colored shirt won't show a print as well as a white colored shirt will. And also you can't print white, from what I understand, with sublimation printers. But with a DTF transfer, it's kind of like an iron-on transfer, but a higher quality iron-on transfer, because their printers and inks can do more than if you went to the craft store and bought an iron-on and printed that using your own printer. But it basically lays on top of the fabric. It's made with a powder, so the powder melts and heats up, and then it adheres to your fabric. You can do it on darker color shirts, and it can print white. So it really depends on what you're using it for, but in my case, I'm doing shirts for toddlers. Did want something cotton, and wanted something with a lot of color. I really wanted the image to be really bold and show a lot of like gradients, colors, and all that stuff. This seemed like the better option. You can get printers to print this for you. So the printer I used is based in Toronto, and they were called Falcon Transfers. And essentially you just upload your design, and then they send you the DTF, and then it's ready to go. You can also create a gang sheet, which I didn't know what that was when I went to one of the sites. It's basically you create a large sheet and you throw all your designs on it. So if you plan on, I don't know, going to a market and selling your goods, and you wanted to make like 50 shirts, you don't have to upload one and then get it printed individually 50 times. You just create like a large sheet. They have the dimensions on their site, and you can place the 50 pictures as you want, and then they send you the sheet as a whole. I had 2 images that I wanted to print. It was really affordable. I think it was like $2, and then I had to pay for shipping, and it came really quickly. They had it printed in one day, and this is what it looks like. So this is the transfer sheet. So you can see the colors are quite vibrant. It's on like a vellum kind of paper, and then on the back it's white. You can see there's texture, so it kind of does look like it was powder that got melted down. And make sure that you cut out all of their writing and they have like registration marks. So you just want to make sure you cut all that out. So I'm going to show you how I made it. It took no time. It was really quick. And if you purchase from a place like Ninja Transfers or Falcon Transfers, they do tell you on their website what heat settings they recommend for what materials and for what application, because sometimes people use just a regular household iron, even though that's not super recommended. And then sometimes people use like a heat press, and then sometimes people use the more industrial ones, which I guess is the real heat press. So they tell you what temperatures. Before I start using the iron press, I am using this protective heat pad. It is just a cheap one from Amazon. You can slip it into your shirt, so that just helps protect the surface underneath, also the fabric underneath. And then I'm also using parchment paper on top of the fabric to protect the iron-on and the fabric as well, so it doesn't get burnt. The instructions on the Falcon Transfer website said to start, I think it was at 320, and that's why it said at 320, but I did move up from this. So what you just saw was I just heated up the surface before placing my iron-on. I guess this just helps give it something to adhere to right off the bat. And then I placed the iron-on the material, and then my parchment paper, and then I pressed down on my heat press. And I think I have it set for 20 seconds, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't hot enough, or maybe long enough. So you can see here when I peel this back, it's not sticking to the fabric. So then I moved it up to, I think, 350. And did the same thing. I use a lot of pressure to press down. This iron shows you actually how much pressure you are using, and this temperature seemed to work better. So here's a close-up of the image on the shirt, and you can see now when I peel the top protective layer away that the print is sticking to the shirt really nicely. So this seemed to work pretty good for me. The instructions on Falcon Transfer's website says for cotton and 50-50 blends to adjust the temperature between 320 Fahrenheit and 350 Fahrenheit, and then it's different for synthetic, and to firmly press down for 15 to 20 seconds. So it kind of depends on your iron and your settings, so you just need to play around with it and see what works. I would start obviously with less heat and then work your way up, and then with less time and work your way up to see what's best. This is the second shirt I did because they're twins, and this is in real time, how long I pressed it for and how much pressure I put down. I think in total it's 30 seconds that worked for me. And this iron I got off of Amazon, full transparency. They sent it to me a few years ago to test out and do a video review for. I think it's like a dupe of the Cricut one, and I have no complaints. It seems pretty good. I'll make sure to link it in case you're interested. I think it is cheaper than the Cricut one. The end result, as you saw in the clip just before, I'm really happy with how they turned out. They were super quick, very affordable, since the shirts were on sale at Old Navy and the prints were only a couple dollars. I'm not sure how well this will wash because it is like a plastic kind of print. If you've tried this and you have washed the clothing quite a bit with these transfers, I'd be curious to know how that turned out for you, or if you have any other tips, if you tried this yourself, or if you haven't and you are living under a rock like me, I'd love to hear that too. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.